Hey, everybody, welcome to MVP Gaming Podcast, episode number 6. This is Grim from Grim's Forge Gaming, and we're here with the owner of MVP Gaming, Jason. Jason, how are you?
Fantastic today, TJ. Thank you, Graham. Appreciate you asking.
Okay. Today we have a special guest on here. If you would like to introduce yourself and I guess tell us a little bit about the operation code, and we'll lead right in with that.
All right. Well, my name is Justin Rosenberg, and I'm one of the co-organizers for Operation Code Kansas City. Operation Code is a national organization that, if you're a veteran and you have an hour of GI Bill left, then you qualify for a vet tech program, which is basically like you can get a boot camp for free, and then you can get into IT job. And so someone like went through the process and realized there wasn't a lot of support for him, and he developed this Operation Code, which is they organize themselves in the Slack channel, and basically what we do at our Operation Code is we mentor people wherever they're at, whatever they're at in that process of just like, I want to go in IT. What do I do? To people going through boot camp, through I'm through boot camp and I have to get a job and realize that it's like a struggle to get a job. And so we provide networking and other resources. So we meet every Saturday morning at 9 o'clock at Brouhaha in Overland Park.
hmm Yeah, and that's where Justin and I met. Was at Operation Code a few weeks ago at Brouhaha, which has great atmosphere, great service there. That's a really cool place for those in the Kansas City area. If you're looking for a cool coffee shop, that's definitely one of the ones to check out. Um, but we started chatting about MVP gaming, and um, as a veteran, I certainly appreciate the outreach that you're making with the organization.
Yeah, like Jim organized the operation. I remember I'm part of the Java user groups, and he was part of the Java user group too. And he said, like, he raised his hand and said, "I'm going to start this meetup, and just if anybody wants to join." And he said that that he was going to look for veterans. And I personally just kind of laughed at him, like, "Good luck getting veterans to come out to the meetups." But he started it, and he got a couple of veterans, and got one guy named Justin, who really is outspoken and really in touch with the community of um, everybody who wants to come, and he really started getting people to come. And once I saw it started to gain a little traction, then I said, well, I guess I can I can try to help out.
Yeah.
And then ever since, the pandemic, of course, was a serious um, challenge, but it's been going really strong. We've got several different people that we can point to that when we met them, they didn't have any IT, and they got some IT skills through boot camps or through like Centric training. And then they got jobs, and one guy is at his second job, and he's making like, he was just like pouring concrete like 3 years ago, and now he's like 100K developer.
That's awesome. I love that. I absolutely love that story from concrete to coding, and the amount of change that envelops that those transitions. That's awesome. Um,
Hmm.
Tell a little bit about Justin, if you can, and Graham. Sorry to steal your thunder. Thunder. If you want a little bit about yourself, Justin, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I'm a Java developer, and I started my career as a Taco Bell guy, and I was working at Taco Bell, and my plan was to become a waiter, and then eventually, like, once I got to college, and I would become a IT professional. But I was lucky enough to I went to Lake North, and I got my they had a programming class in high school, which was back in like 96 or so, and it was unique to have that opportunity in high school to find the thing that I loved. I loved the fact that I could just imagine something, and as long as it could work in a computer, as long as I had enough time, enough money, I could do it. And it was
Yeah.
just amazing to be able to do that. And then they had like a business course, which was a kind of internship program, and they didn't have really one for someone in IT, but it was the same like instructor. So she's like, ah, don't worry about it. You can get it internship. And I think I was on that class for like a month or so, and nothing turned out. But finally, they did find an opportunity for me at Allied Signal. It's now Honeywell, and I never got the chance to ever become a waiter. So I
That's a
had
good
an
thing.
internship at high school, and then throughout college, I had another internship, and then after I graduated college, I got a job opportunity at IBM, and then fast forward a few years, and 16 years ago, I got the job at CRL.
That is an amazing story, and I love that as a huge success. And a lot of it has to do with your passion, something that you really enjoyed in high school, and you're able to build a career out of that. And I think that's fantastic. What is another passion that you have? And I'm spoon feeding you here, gaming.
I like to collect things, and I like to game. And so when I was young, I like to collect like baseball cards, and I liked them a lot. I collected Cal Ripken Jr. cards, and those cards are now pretty worthless. but
I was going to
but
say, I have a bunch of Cal Ripken cards that you could look through.
I think I have $1 for like 10 of them. But also gaming. So I got to game when I was young. We had like the Pong game, and we had uh, a Texas Instruments cartridge game. I forgot what it's called, but it was a cartridge game, and my father, he got a lot of learning games for me, and so I
Mm.
used to play that game, including Hunt the Wampus, which was one of my favorite games. And if you could look it up on YouTube, you can look at Hunt the Wampus. Um, but anyway, then I got a Nintendo, and so I played Nintendo games throughout elementary school, and then middle school, and then high school. Various Nintendo,
Consoles.
yes, thank you, consoles. And then going into college, then it was when PC gaming was more popular. Um, you talked to you talked a little bit about a LAN party before the podcast, and one thing that I remember doing is I had my computer hooked up to a serial port hooked up to another computer, and we
Oh,
would. Yeah, it was real like advanced hardware, and we would play Duke Nukem 1-on-1, and that was like the bomb.
yeah, absolutely. I remember good old Duke Nukem. Come get some.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is a classic. I love that game. And I my first network experience is with computers was playing the original Warcraft Orcs versus Humans on a
Ah.
46DX2 via serial cables. I'm right there with you.
Yep.
Well, that's awesome. So, what are your current gaming habits? Because MVP, we're a gaming center, so we like that. Super again though appreciative of your ties with veterans as a veteran, and shout out to all the veterans out there. But tell us more about your current arsenal of choice with your gaming, and what else are you still collecting?
Yeah, so if I look at my Steam profile, you know, uh, um, sorry. Uh, if I look at my top games that I play on there, it's mostly single player games. Like I like RimWorld, Slay the Spire,
Hmm.
more indie games. I like Skyrim. I played it. I played Fallout 4. Um, I like the single player games because I don't have to compare myself with anybody but myself. And that's a lot easier than comparing myself with a 14-year-old who can kick my butt. Yeah, playing Fortnite or something. But I have close friends and we play Valheim together. And so I just got done playing Valheim. And do you know Valheim?
Yeah, I spent about 120 hours on that when it first came out. Made a
Yeah.
server, and I bought two copies. So I put one on a potato because it doesn't take much to run the server, and just ran that. And me and like three friends built. We got through I think just the first two worlds, but we built very elaborate constructs and everything, and it was pretty epic. It's a fun game.
Yeah, well, they came out with the Mistlands expansion, I think about a month or 2 months ago, and me and my two best friends from high school, we still play together.
Love it.
So just on the weekends, we find time that we can all three play, and then we haven't like rented the server or built a server. It's just when we three are available, we play.
Yeah, that's nice. Yeah, I bought I had one of my friends who's super addictive personality. So he's like, buy a second copy. So I'm like, okay. So I set that one up, like I said, on a potato on a very low end computer that could just run the server. And he spent like within those first few months, like I had 120 hours. He had like 400 hours or something, just out ridiculous, just crazy. It was just like, wow, you really like this game.
Hmm.
And now it's, of course, a lot of people have a lot more hours than that, and it's been out for a couple of years, but it's a good one. It's Gem for sure. So what about Magic the Gathering? Do you play any Magic the Gathering?
Yeah, so Magic is like it's like a constant pull. I love the game. I was introduced to it when in 1994. My next door neighbor played it, and I started playing it, and I just fell in love with it. And I've gone. Depending on the time, I played it a lot, and then I would like sell all my cards, and then I would get all the cards again and play it some more. Um, I play Magic the Arena is what I play now. My old kind of play group has kind of died off, and my best friend Tom, he and I used to play in high school, but I spent money on my cards and he didn't spend as much money.
Oh,
And it's a game that if you spend money, you can play good. And so I am very disciplined in my online gaming that I don't spend any money on it. And it limits my like everything I can play, but I'm decently good, so um, yeah. So
did you ever
I'm
go
doing
to the old tabletop game and hobby when it was on Quivira and 79th Street?
so I didn't play tabletop. I played at Battlezone,
Battlezone. Yep.
and yeah, and Win More Games were my two spots for playing board games.
Nice.
I'm playing Magic. Sorry.
Yeah. I went to like 94 was when I got introduced to Magic the Gathering as well. And I roped in a couple of my friends from high school, and we would go to tabletop and just I Knight or Castle. I think Castle is maybe a method, a way to play where you'd have one guy who was the castle, and you'd have a person to his left, two people to his left, and two people to his right. So it's two
Hmm.
teams of five. Is that Castle Magic? Is that what that was called?
I don't know.
Okay, I don't remember. Whoever out there, if you know it, put it down in the comments. But we would play that game, And I'm more of a social gamer, so Magic was always fun playing. Five people and you just PvP it out. But when we got on a team and it was like you had somebody who was the main offender with loaded deck, and then you had two people on his left and two people on his right, and you were battling against somebody in a similar structure. That was just so much fun. And they did that, I think, once a week, and every week for like a couple of years we were up there doing that. It was just so much fun.
Mm-hmm.
But I haven't had the opportunity. I haven't taken advantage of the opportunity to play Magic online. Although I did do a little the WoW one, Hearthstone. Have you played that one?
I haven't played that one. I played World of Warcraft, but I never got into the card game.
Yeah, it's fun. It's not as fun as Magic, but it's not bad. The physical copy actually of the WoW TCG, I still own a great deal of. It's not worth but pennies, but I still own a great deal of that one.
Yeah. I have Star Wars. The Star Wars
With the black decks, yeah, the black box.
There was the original Star Wars game, and I had that and I sold that. But this one I called it Dice Wars. It's where you have like the three tiers. You had like ground troops, and you had space troops, and something else. Oh, and then you had like your individual like Jedis in it, and I just call it Dice Wars because it just seemed to be however you rolled was how you win at it, and those cards are worthless now. And
I also had, I don't know if you're a Star Trek fan, I also had the Star Trek collectible card game,
yes.
CCG, and the original expansion, they were in blue boxes, and there was this one artifact from a TNG episode, because it was based on TNG. It was an artifact card, and like it lets you go like 3 times in a row or twice in a row or something, so you could load up all your crewmen and beam down on a planet and then play the artifact, and then you were guaranteed to win. And like no one would play me because I had that artifact. Like, you stink.
Yeah. One game I played, Elder Scrolls has a Legends game. I played that for a long time.
Is it a card game?
Yeah, it's a card game for Elder Scrolls.
Oh wow, cool. So tell me about that. Is it digital or is it a physical product?
Digital. Yeah.
Oh,
So
cool.
Elder Scrolls Online is a free game, and I played the heck out of it. I was just looking at the top 3 games or top games, and it's my number 3 by playing time. Just because I played a lot of it, and I had like all the guards, and it's a pretty cool game. But yeah.
They now have on Elder Scrolls Online, because that's one of the games that I play, ESO. ESO now has a card game within the game, and you can meet people in taverns and play against them, and you can build your decks, called Tales of Tribute. And so I have not played it yet, but
That's cool. A game within a game. I like that.
yeah, you can meet at taverns and challenge people, and then there's a whole ranking system and all kinds of stuff involved with it. I haven't looked into it much. I spend too much time PvPing in the game, so.
PvP. Well, to take a little bit of a transition, our last episode that we did was on mental health. And Justin, you and I, when we talked offline, kind of shared a little bit about each of our struggles in life with some of the challenges in relation to mental health. And I didn't know if you wanted to spend a little time kind of talking about that a little bit.
Yeah, sure. So, I grew up in. My father taught political science, and I traveled whenever he would go to a different college, and so I grew up from like 8 years old till like I was 13 in a K through 12 small town in Illinois, and then I moved to Independence, and Independence I was like on the eastern side of Independence, Missouri, and it was part of Blue Springs High School, and I went through the K through 12 in one building to a campus for high school, and that was quite a shock to my
Yeah.
system. And I started to develop anxiety about going to school and doing things. And that's when I was first introduced to a psychiatrist um, and a psychologist, was to get that anti-anxiety medication. And then fast forward past high school, past college, I had always kind of dealt with generalized depression or generalized anxiety disorder. And then when I was around 24, 25, I developed classic bipolar disorder. So with my manic phase, I would spend a lot of money. I would take risky behavior, and I ended up like so in during post college, I had a deviated septum, and I had trouble with sleeping. I would just oversleep, and part of it had to do with my gaming, actually. I played the Star Wars MMO, and I was playing that late at night and sleeping and getting up, and so I was fired from my job at IBM, and then I got a contract somewhere, and I was let go for that contract, and I contract somewhere else, and I was let go for that contract. And then I was searching for another job, and I got a job working for the Marines through CSC, and but it was post 9/11, and so they had to do a background check, and I couldn't deal with the fact that I didn't have anything to do. I had successfully gotten a job, but all I just had to do was wait,
Yeah.
and that was not a good situation for me. And I traveled throughout the United States, to both Chicago to Detroit, and I was like mugged in Detroit, and eventually coming back, my background check failed, and I would love to know why it failed, why my background it didn't succeed. So I just was really in a bad place, both depression and manic episodes. And so I finally eventually committed myself to a mental hospital, and got treatment there for bipolar disorder, which was much more in line with what I was doing. I got prescribed lithium instead of taking the antidepressants. I also got off of the medicine I was taking for the sleeping, for staying awake. It was basically legal speed.
Oh wow.
And yeah, so it was called Provigil. And so I was taking that medication even after I had the surgery to fix my deviated septum. So I believe that like that kind of led a little bit to having these hyper,
Yeah.
uh, yeah, actions. So, with the lithium and the Lamictal, I was pretty good for about, let's see, 2005 till 2019.
That is awesome. That is such a great journey. And, I want to highlight a couple things on this, and what you shared. And that is that number one, you sought after professional assistance and help, you committed yourself, which, may sound like a bad thing to those who are listening who don't necessarily understand what that means. But it does take a lot of strength and a lot of courage to, recognize, to admit, and then to seek after that type of assistance. So that is fantastic and awesome that you took those steps and that you did that. And I know there are life-changing steps that you took. So, that was awesome that you had that character to do those things.
Mm-hmm.
Also, I like to highlight that, for those who are listening and that can relate and that find that, maybe to Justin's story about these situations you go through in life where, nowadays we see commercials on TV where they talk about manic behavior and they talk about the house of cards that people build and stuff. But, what does that mean in reality? What does it mean in a day-to-day life for individuals? Buying a lot of things, being really risky, not sleeping a lot, doing, silly things. If you find that you cycle through real big highs and real big lows, talk to your doctor, talk to a loved one, talk to somebody that knows you intimately enough to say, maybe you do need to have a conversation with the doctor to get diagnosed or to get help. Because it really does take the strength of a warrior to ask for help. And, again, Justin, I want to highlight that was awesome that you sought that out.
Yeah. It was difficult at the time to know I needed help. But I just bought a widescreen TV, and it was too big for the table that we had our big screen TV on. We had like a big CRT TV, and this was a widescreen TV, and it was just kind of erratic, and realizing that I bought this $2,000 TV without a job, and I just realized that something wasn't right, and I needed some serious help to kind of to evaluate me and see what's wrong.
I remember when I began my journey and my descent into, the initial onslaught of my mental health challenges. And, you can pick up things when you're a kid and when you're younger. But I was in my early to mid 20s as well, when mine really started to come to fruition in its fullness. And I would have these episodes where I would experience things that no one else experienced. And I would see and hear and experience things, and no one else would understand what I was doing or what I was talking about or what I was going through. And my battle buddy, I was in the military at the time, my battle buddy came up to me and was like, you really need to get evaluated. You really need to. And we sat down and we were talking about things, and we were talking about like some of the, his perception of what I was doing, which was vastly different than my perception of what I was doing. I didn't have the foresight at the time to recognize, the patterns of my behavior and see some of those characteristical things that I was doing, as a sign of someone with a mental health trauma and diagnosis. But my battle buddy, my best friend, he had a family member who struggled from mental health. And so, he was able to, unofficially, he didn't diagnose me, but he's like, I've seen some of these signs and you exhibit some of these things, and, you should really seek after help. And, unfortunately for me, before I got diagnosed, it was after a failed attempt. But luckily it was failed, and that's the beauty of it. And it did get me the help that I needed. So, again, anybody that's listening, don't get yourself to that situation where you have to, have a big trauma event, and you can, if you recognize some signs, or if you are listening and you see those signs in somebody else, it takes the strength of a warrior to ask for help. How does gaming fit into your mental health equation? Like, what is the flip side to that? Because we've talked about some of these challenges and these hardships, but I always like to flip the script and focus on the hope, after you got the help, after you got on the medication. Did you want to talk a little bit about that, Justin?
That's interesting. It's kind of um, gaming can be healthy or it can be hurtful to your mental health. Like, it's kind of the difference between, for me personally, it's if I feel obligated to play, then I don't. If I feel like somebody's like World of Warcraft was great because it gave a sense of community and I had friends there that I knew and but once that kind of got to the point of they were relying on me, and I felt I would be letting them down if I didn't help them, and I was constantly like going to work and then getting on World of Warcraft and then going to sleep and then waking up and going to work and then playing World of
Yeah.
Warcraft and then going to sleep, then I realized that mentally I was in good place, but I realized that if I wanted to find a significant other, I would need to to change my life some. So I find it can be a bad thing like that, or it can be a good thing.
So how did you find balance? Let's talk about that if we can. About how are you married right now?
Yes, I'm married.
Congratulations. So talk about your current balance because I think balance is really important. Like having that gaming work life balance is really important, especially for mental health. Like sleep obviously is the foundation, but having a balance between all those different tugs in our life. So how do you find balance, and what does that balance look like for you right now?
Yeah, that's a good question. So, number one I'll state it again. Sleep is a foundation of of your life, and if I just played until I got tired and go to bed and then get up and then have to do things, I've realized lately that sleep is really, really, really important.
Yeah.
And like I have a Garmin watch that tracks my sleep, and I see my psychiatrist and she goes like, "Hey, how are you sleeping?" I go, "I could tell you, but I don't know." Like, go look at my Garmin watch because it can tell me what my average sleeping time is for the last 7 days, for example, is way more accurate than what I would tell you my sleeping schedule is. So that's really important. Um, my work is also flexible in the fact that like I only have to work 40 hours, um, and that's something that in IT is rare. I try to work smarter and instead of just working harder. Um,
It's a great saying.
yeah, yeah, and so then I have the in between time, and I love asking people what they do in between sleep and work because that's like where the juiciness is, and so I find time to play, find time to game, like Magic the Gathering Arena right now is taking up most of my time, and I really want to play like some other games that I've gotten. I was playing God of War Ragnarok, and I really want to beat that. But right now, it's mostly just to playing Magic the Arena, and I'm going to switch to play those other games along with playing Valheim.
And what about family? Because obviously social interaction is important, right? And a lot of gamers that are young aren't married, perhaps, or they live with their parents, or some who are on their own aren't married yet. You, as someone with who is married, How does family in your social circle interact with, those who are online, but those who are also offline? Like, how does that balance work as far as being able to enjoy your pastime with gaming, sleeping, working, and then family on top of that?
Well, I have the advantage that I don't have children.
That's a
And
big advantage.
I know a lot of people are parents, and they struggle to find that right kind of balance. But the good thing is that like when I'm done with work and I come home, me and my wife we eat dinner together, and then probably watch a episode of something on Netflix or um, Prime or HBO, and then we pretty much then go to do our own things. She's very much an introvert, and so she likes to game, and I like to game too. So I think just finding some time to spend with family, and then finding some time that either to watch TV or to play games. Uh, yeah.
Yeah, that helps out a lot, I think. TJ, what do you normally do as far as balance goes? How do you find balance?
Well, my wife, she likes to read. She's an avid reader, and she might read on some occasions 2 or 3 books a week. And she reads like fantasy type movie or type books. She really enjoys that, and I think it's cool. So while she's on an adventure in her book, I'll be, playing Elder Scrolls Online or Fortnite or whatever. And you say a common phrase that you use is healthy boundaries,
Yes.
and discipline, healthy boundaries and discipline. And um, I think for me, it's trying to figure out when's the good time to play because I would prefer to schedule it. I would prefer that it be scheduled and I time block things. Like I have an hour here to game or 2 hours here to game. But with it built around, because we have 2 daughters and built around my wife's reading schedule, it ends up becoming when she wants to sit down and read. If she's not going to sit down and read and continue her adventure, then I'm going to spend time with her. We're going to watch movies, and watch series and stuff like that. And then we have family movie. We don't necessarily have a family movie night, but we have a family. Like my 9-year-old will say, let's do a family movie night. And so that's what we'll do. We'll all just cuddle in bed and we'll watch The Mandalorian or watch whatever we can watch on the night. And then there's like older movies that Chris and I wanted them to see the Never Ending Story,
Oh yeah.
or The Princess Bride, things that we watched long ago that meant something to us. And so but I don't know. It kind of fluctuates with when her schedule is open. And then what I do is I sacrifice sleep to game. Um, and so what'll happen is I'll spend time with my wife right up until she falls asleep. Maybe around 11 or midnight, and then I'll go game for an hour or two. And so then I go to bed at 2 a.m. and get up at 7 a.m. or, earlier than that. But for me, I'm kind of built that way. I've done that my entire life. And it, I don't know, I'm accustomed to that. I kind of have this witching hour where my brain doesn't shut off anyways between the midnight and 3 a.m. And I just, if there's a new class, a new build, or whatever, and I'm theory crafting, I'm just thinking about that during that time frame. So I guess I've blocked, the midnight to 3
Yeah.
as a
TJ's brain is, or Grimm's brain's just.
yeah. And so I really need to figure that part out, but very rarely. Today I did feel run down, but it was mostly because yesterday was a very, very long day. And my day didn't my day started very early in the morning and then ended very early in the morning the next, so it was just
Yeah.
a lot of hours. So, but I don't know, that's kind of how I operate. I operate really well on 5 hours of sleep. If I get more, if as soon as I get into the 7 to 8 hours, I feel sluggish and too tired the next day,
Hmm.
and it's very hard for me to turn on, if that makes sense, and be in flow state. And so that's kind of where I'm at. But
I just want to add real quick too, because you didn't mention this. You with your balance, because we're talking about balance of time with family and gaming and work and responsibilities and sleep and everything. You do an amazing job with your family, especially with your daughters. I mean, I know your wife loves you to death, but your daughters are always telling you how much they love you and how happy they are and everything. And I think that you're an excellent father. You do an excellent job with that balance of making sure, because it's not always about quantity. It's not always about spending 24 hours a day with somebody so much. It is when you do have time together, it's quality time. And you want to spend as much time as you can, but you really maximize that quality with your family, which I really appreciate.
thank you. Yeah, I'm really blessed with them. They're such smart little things. They're really smart, and they ask a lot of questions, and I never let it annoy me. I love that they're asking a bunch of questions, and they, like we'll be driving somewhere, and the 9-year-old will say, you know, what is jaywalking? And
Yeah,
then we'll,
random.
yeah, just random, where her mind's at. And then okay, well, let's explain what jaywalking is, and what's a molecule? You're 9 years old, kid. What do But so I like that. And at my church on Wednesdays, we do a couples like group. Um, and it's groups, right? There's couples, and it's kind of like a ministry to just bringing balance to everybody's life. And it's interesting hearing all the different couples and their trials and tribulations and stuff. And for the most part, we're kind of quiet sometimes, and then it'll come around to us and say, "You guys are so quiet. What's going on?" And this has happened 2 or 3 times. I say, well, I just feel very blessed to be where I'm at with my family and with my wife and everything, because we don't have a lot of drama in our life. We don't have, there's always things outside of our family that are affecting us, like especially last year in business, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And in the businesses that I'm working with too, there's always things going on with them, pivoting and changing. And, last year there's deceit and lies and all kinds of bad stuff. And I'll be better for it as I learn to spot these things. But that stuff last year did affect my life, my family life, and stuff like that. And so establishing and building those
Yeah, healthy boundaries.
healthy boundaries was my lesson last year. How do I keep these things from affecting me? So because it really really hurt me, and my family too, because my daughters were a big part, and really loved the family business that we were in. And so I don't know, it's been rough. But at these meetings I always talk about my upbringing was pretty rough, like to being homeless sometimes, to every year we went to school at a different place until my seventh grade year. So for 7 years we were traveling, and I got 1 year of schooling and in a new place, and being bullied and all kinds of stuff. And it was a very tough upbringing, and physical abuse, and physical verbal abuse, and just and when I say physical abuse, it was, just getting roughed up or beat up, by family members. So, um, my outlook or my bar for a successful family was set pretty low, in that I said, look, it's never going to be that for my family, you know,
Yeah,
as long as it's never physical abuse, we don't put our hands on each other, we don't shout at each other. We show and display love, and as long as we're doing that and we lead through love and we lead through that, I'm winning and I'm happy, I'm content. And so that has come up a couple times in my thing. So my balance is, if I have to sacrifice sleep to unwind or me time, then that's what I have to do, and that's what I'll do, is I'll sacrifice sleep. But then be very disciplined, because I think that healthy boundaries, it's not a healthy boundary if there's no discipline and I can't get up the following morning and do the responsibilities. And so that's the struggle. And if I come in on 4 or 5 hours of sleep and the alarm goes off and I got to get up and do what I got to do, I will do what I got to do and then say, what everyone else says, never again, and you turn around and do it the very next night, or the night after. But, and eventually you're just like, I definitely need to get some sleep. And so, yeah, we're constantly evaluating those healthy boundaries and spending family time. And so I love my daughters. They're going to be little gamers. They actually like watching, they like watching me play, which I don't make them watch me play. They want to come down and see what I'm doing. And then they show interest in, like, what's daddy doing? And then they're like, how do you do that? Or what's that? And they're also learning, in PvP, tensions can get pretty high, especially in games that are very competitive and there's trash talkers, guys that are
Yeah.
flex on you and stuff like that. And so they are watching how I react to that, and they're learning from me in those moments. And so I think that's how I try and approach balance, is everything. I have little eyes on me, and they're learning, whether they're asking questions or not. They're learning every second, and so there's that. But I'm excited that they're going to be little gamers. I think that that's
Absolutely.
fun. And it doesn't worry my wife much, because once we establish this, the same way you're going on adventures when you're reading the books, I'm going on an adventure slaying dragons or killing, I just killed 30 people in a game. And once we established that that's her adventure time is my adventure time,
That's a good
then
way. That's a good way to do it. Yeah.
yeah, it kind of started to work out. But what about you? How's your balance work with everything? Especially being a startup business owner, you're seeing a crunch in time, aren't you? And how demanding it is to be like responsive like a cat, right? To every
Yeah.
email that comes
Oh
in.
man. Yeah. I'm pouncing on a lot of different balls of yarn, trying to make them move and dance. And
Yeah.
sometimes the balls of yarns they cooperate and they will play with me, and other times they just are really big and hard. And they just sit there, and it's just like, we're the immovable boulder. But communication, I think, is really big as far as with business, is staying in communication and responding in a timely and an efficient manner, and not to drop everything and always be doing what anybody wants, but just to maintain really good communication and open channels. And if you have a deadline, being disciplined. If being disciplined to respond and to follow through and to do things is important. But my balance, is like with Justin, sleep is, really important for me with mental health. So I try to maintain a pretty consistent schedule with that. And then, I'll be honest, there are days where I'll be working and I'll work like, 16 hours and then sleep like 6 hours, and then a little bit of game time. But, I'm not married and I don't have any kids either. So I don't have those distractions, but I am really big into service, and I am really big into, giving back to my extended family and to my friends and to other areas. I really believe that, you really find yourself and you find your core when you're serving others. And so that's part of my balance is, not spending too much energy helping other people. Like if I see a need, I want to swoop in and solve the problem, and having those healthy boundaries and saying somebody else can solve that, or, this is a problem that's best addressed in another way. and not always being the Superman or the Spider-Man and saving the day. That's one of my struggles is that with service. But you TJ, you spoke to toxicity in gaming. What is that like in Magic, Justin? What is the toxicity like in your gaming world? Do you have a lot of people that are when you're dueling them in the game, that they get pretty upset when you win all the time, since you always win?
Yeah, right. I always win. No, it's really interesting. The so the Magic the Gathering Online was the original like trading card game, and where you could buy real Magic cards. And then they came out with Magic Arena. And with Magic Online, you had a chat window, you could chat, and it was generally pretty good. But every once in a while, you get a guy who would tell you off. And in Magic Arena, you really don't know the person, and you can really only give emotes or canned text or canned animations to the other person. So the only thing that you could do that's annoying, if you you could either like kind of spam them with emotes, or if you just play really slowly. But most of the time, it's it's not that. I think I played hundreds and hundreds of games, and every once in a while, I'm like, I fell to the weakness of like, I'm gonna play really slow. I'm just really sick of. But if you are mentally where you need to be, you just like, okay, move on to the next game. And so I kind of miss that. There are times when I'm playing somebody, it's a really good game, and I like to say good game, but I like to like continue the relationship that we developed, and I don't really have that opportunity with Magic Arena.
So it's a dual-edged sword. Yeah, you avoid a lot of the toxicity, but then the praise that you want to give, you're not always able to continue that on. That makes sense. That's really cool.
Hmm.
What's your and this is a personal question. So, what's your wife's game of choice? Do you guys play any games together, or what is your spouse? What does she like to do? What game is her weapon?
Uh, Her weapon of choice is like is my top two games are her top two games, which is Slay the
Oh, that's great.
Spire and RimWorld. But she plays them more than I play them, so she really likes to play Slay the Spire. Are you guys familiar with that game?
Isn't that a roguelike card trader game type?
Yeah, yeah. It's a you start out with like 5 hits. It's a deck builder.
Yeah.
So you start out with like 5 hits and 5 defenses, and then you beat monsters and you get other unlocks. And there's three bosses that you can fight, and there are like four characters you can play. And as you play a character, you unlock their cards and stuff. But they also have like a daily quest, which is a kind of modded version of the game, where you can play that, and it probably takes like a half hour, 45 minutes to play.
Nice. And it's like it's a mod that you've downloaded for the game that allows you to do the daily quest and to continue keeping.
It's like a mod, but it's not a mod, so it's part of the core game.
Oh, it is part of the game. Oh, cool. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. So it's like a mod in the sense that they change some aspect of the game. Like all
Gotcha.
the monsters are easy, but they really hit hard or something like that. They do. And RimWorld, have you guys played that?
That is let's see, no, that's Terraria. RimWorld is the city builder. It's like a isometric, flat 2D type of a.
Yeah. So it's a game where you can control the actions that your like Sims do,
Hmm.
but you actually like you can only control one, and you have like the starting scenario is like three people survive the ship crash, and they need to live. And so you kind of just you can define at a more granular level like the priorities of the tasks that need to be done. And so you like say like this tree needs to be chopped, and then when somebody gets around to it, they chop that tree. So it's kind of reverse of like Sims types games. And so you just say like I want this to be done, but they will actually choose to do it. And
That's
so
cool.
you know, and it's a really involved game. It's really great, and for the single player game, it's just awesome. And they've come out with DLCs since they came out, but the graphics are horrible. You don't play it for the graphics, but just the amount of computation that you imagine, you can just think in your head like, how's this, how does this computer do this? You know,
Yeah,
it's
absolutely.
quite a brilliant thing.
And as a programmer, then you're also thinking the underlining code behind the game. Is that what you're doing too? Like
Yeah,
you're
yeah. So I don't program games. I just never went down that direction. But I was thinking like how how this is programmed, just like Minecraft. You know how is it programmed in Java, and
it's an
so
amazing. Yeah, Minecraft's amazing.
yeah,
Well, that thank you so much, Justin, for being on the show and for indulging my whims with my questions. But
sure,
honestly, I really appreciate it. I really appreciate your work with veterans. I really appreciate your work with helping a segment of our population who understands and believes in sacrifice, and as well the sacrifices that you've made to get where you are in life. Because make no mistake about it, anything that's worth having takes work, takes effort, takes discipline, healthy boundaries, and sacrifice. And again, talking about mental health, that you had the foresight is a shining example of your character, and that you asked and received help. Like that is so huge, and that is, I thank you for that, for doing that, and for being that example to other people.
yeah. Thank you.
TJ, we got anything else?
No, we're going to try and be more consistent with our shows. We've had a lot of things come up recently between the other businesses and this business and everything else. A lot of good things. So we've both just been extremely busy. So, but we'll try and get back to being consistent with the episodes. Yeah. So thank you guys. You guys be safe.
Thank
All
you.
right,
Bye.
bye.